grandmother's house every Friday night, and it ended Sunday morning. And I was making $200 a week at the time, and I was earning extra money in this poker game. And there was a wonderful young actress named Barbara Harris, whose father, Tex Harris, was in that game. And he, in fact, lost his restaurant in that game. He owned a restaurant and lost it. But I used to make enough money to supplement my income as a live television director. And those were the days when Chicago-style television was going on. I don't know, most of you look too young to remember shows like Garraway at Large, Dave Garraway, and that was Chicago-style television. It did not use a lot of money. It was all invention, and it was all spontaneous. And so I learned a lot from that, but I never went to college, barely got out of high school, and I've had one lesson in the camera. There was an African-American man who was going to death row. He was going to the electric chair. And I had heard about his story. I was a live TV director, and I heard about his story from the Protestant chaplain at the Cook County Jail in Chicago. I asked him, because I met him, at a gathering, and I said, "Father, did you ever have anyone on death row that you thought was innocent?" And he said, "Yeah, there is this one guy. His name was Paul Crump. And he had been on death row for 9 years. His last appeal was denied by the United States Supreme Court. It was denied certiorari. And I got this idea to try and make a documentary as a court of last resort to save his life. And myself and a cameraman, a live TV cameraman at the time, we went to an equipment rental house in Chicago called Baron Cine Rental, and they showed us how to work a 16mm Arriflex camera and to get sync with a Nagra tape recorder, and we went out and made this film, and it saved his life. Bill Butler, and he wound up, I brought him out here to do documentaries with me at Wahlberg, which is who brought me to California, and I brought Bill out, and Bill wound up being the director of photography on Jaws, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He did the Thornbirds on television. But, no. But we knew nothing when we started. Nothing. We didn't know that you had to make a work print from the negative to cut the work print. We were cutting our negative and getting it dirty, and we were stealing equipment in the newsroom at this television station, and where they edited news film at the time. And one day, one of the news editors came by and saw us in a cubbyhole, and he said, "What are you guys doing?" What do you mean? He said, "You're cutting negative. You're ruining your picture." Well, that became a distinguished look for it.
It's funny to say that because, speaking of finding cinematographers, you gave Robbie Yeoman his first job.
Yeah, Bob Yeoman.
Who shot all Wes Anderson movies, by the way.
And Bob Yeoman did The Chase for To Live and Die in L.A. with me.
Woo!
The regular Robbie Mueller was the DP, but Robbie did not feel comfortable shooting The Chase because Robbie's genius was to, really set shots that were lit from one light source and one look, but then when you had to go around and shoot 360 degrees at all times, as in a chase scene, he wasn't comfortable with that.
He only shot on set.
He shot on set. He shot a lot of locations.
No, but he got started shooting on set.
Yeah, in Germany.
Yeah.
But they'd wait for the sun, and wait for the sun to be in just the right position. And on a chase scene, you wait for nothing. We had that freeway for a section of freeway for, on weekend, on 2 days, on Saturday and Sunday, from about 7 in the morning to about 3 in the afternoon. And then we were done.
Did he also shoot those foot chases? I remember seeing those.
Yeoman did, yeah. There's a shot that really bounces up and down, going over a bridge.
John Pankow chasing the guy. I don't have anything. Then stop running.
It was Peterson then. Yeah, but Pankow did that in another scene. But this was a footbridge downtown, and Yeoman did the point of view. She operated the point of view, and it's really shaky camera. He actually fell down on the next frame. Or I'd have used that shot longer.
Talking about stage actors, the three leads in that were all stage guys. Willem Dafoe, John Pankow, and William Peterson.
Yes.
How'd you find those guys? Did you still go to a lot of theaters to find them?
No, but I had a great casting director, a guy called Bob Weiner. And he was not a casting director, really. He was the guy who wrote theater and sometimes film reviews for the Village Voice in New York.
Is that the same Bob Weiner?
Bob Weiner.
Okay.
He's passed away.
I know it's the same guy.
Yeah, and he knew every actor around. He knew where every actor in Chicago, New York, Seattle, whatever it might be. He had an eye for that. He discovered Whoopi Goldberg, among others. He discovered quite a few actors. He brought me Willem Dafoe. He told me in LA, I got to come up to Toronto to the Stratford, Ontario Shakespeare Festival to see this guy, Bill Peterson, who was doing Streetcar Named Desire up in Stratford. And I said, I'm not going to go up to see a guy do Streetcar. I mean, Brando owns that part. You know, I'm just going to see another guy do a Brando imitation. You know, I'd rather see it on Saturday Night Live, you know. So he said, no, you got to come up and see this guy. He's probably the best young actor in America. And because I believed in Bob Weiner, I went up there, and there was Bill Peterson doing Streetcar in a totally original performance that owed nothing to Brando or anyone else. And I hired him on the spot. In fact, I've never auditioned an actor for anything. Simply, I'll meet them somewhere or see them in a room. In the case of Juno Temple in this picture, I was going to go with two other young women, and she sent my casting director an audition on the computer. She auditioned in England with her 10-year-old brother. And I saw this audition, I thought, she is just great. She's wonderful. And so I went with her. Then she came to meet me in Los Angeles, and she has this thick British accent. But you'll never hear that. She has a perfect Texas accent. And I know now that she's done some other films, but I had never heard of her. And I just saw her audition tape. I don't know how she got the script. I don't know who gave it to her, but she's absolutely wonderful.
Still son of her 10-year-old brother's reading that script with her.
So if her 10-year-old brother can handle it, I'm sure you guys can. I'm not that sure. I'm looking around. I'm totally sure. It's a comedy, by the way. You must not freak out. You know, the other day, I invited one of my sons, and he brought his fiancée. And at the end of the screening, she said, but Billy, this script is misogynistic. And I had heard that word, but I didn't know what it meant. I said, well, what is that? She said, it means you hate women. I said, that's not me, believe me. This is a work of possibly the best dramatist in America today. And if he's not the best, he's way up there with whoever's in second place. So, you know, believe me, I don't know, I can't define my own pictures, Elvis. I don't know what they are, but they're not misogynistic. Or if they were, my wife would kill me.
Anyway. So you started by doing plays, basically. You did Boys in the Band, you did The Birthday, which is an incredible piece of work. What is it that you like about trying to find a way to convert that theatrical experience to something for the big screen?
It's just something that attracts me. Some of the greatest films ever made were based on plays and won the Academy Award. I mean, some of them are obvious that I can mention, and so I will mention. Sound of Music, Cabaret, The Bandwagon. And then you get to things like Casablanca. Did any of you know that that was based on a play? It was based on a play that wasn't even accepted for performance. It was called Everybody Comes to Rick's. And I think somewhere I read that it had run a week, and then I read that it didn't run at all. Never got out. But a Warner Brothers story department guy in New York bought the rights to it for nothing. They sent it to the West Coast, and they hired 2 or 3 writers to work on a script, and the script is the play.
The Epstein brothers get credit for it.
The Epstein brothers and a guy called Howard Koch, who also wrote Orson Welles' War of the Worlds.
See, we can go toe-to-toe on this. Let's
Yeah. But that's a play, and if you analyze it, most of it is set in Rick's Cafe Americain, and it's in his office, or it's down on the floor, or it's just outside, or whatever. I think there's actually one location exterior, and that's the last scene.
It's the flashback in Paris.
Well, there was the flashback in Paris, but the
last scene they go outside the plane.
It's at Burbank Airport, and they actually had, you know, midgets in the background for perspective. For the extras. No, I'm not kidding. And I'm not anti-midget either. Although I thought that was what misogynistic might have meant. It sounded right, I don't know.
No, nobody believes that. I'm sorry. Just going back to Boys and Men, and then to the birthday party, and then Bug, and now this. I mean, you find a way to sort of liberate these things. So when I saw Bug, I didn't think there's any way you could move it off of the stage. And you found a way to do that. What did you see in Killer Joe that made you think there is a film in there?
It's a great piece of writing. You know, they say, if it's not on the page, it's not on the stage. And that was true of this. Tracy Letts sent me the screenplay, not the play. He had written a screenplay. Tracy Letts is a guy who spent about 6 years out here trying to work as an actor as well as a writer. And when he couldn't get a job on the Love Boat, he quit and moved back to Chicago, where he now works with Steppenwolf. And he's a really fine actor, and he writes all of his early plays for Steppenwolf. He's a member of the Steppenwolf Company in Chicago. But he did a production of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf recently in Chicago that Albee said was the best production he'd ever seen. They're bringing it to Broadway with Tracy in the lead and Amy Morton in October. But it was the script, you know? And if you ask me why the script, because the script deals with all the ancient verities in a contemporary world. It deals with life, death, God, sin, vengeance, and redemption, and is still a comedy. You know, now, what I just said, you know, the New Testament deals with all that too.
Yeah, I don't think that's comedy.
You don't think of the New Testament as comedy?
That's
You know why? I try to read the New Testament at least 3-4 days a week. It's quite beautiful. And, you know, if you read it, well, you know, Mel Gibson read it, and he saw a movie in it. Obviously, right? You'd know that.
William Friedkin would have known that.
No, it had all of that. It had characters that I knew from where I grew up in Chicago. Tracy grew up in Oklahoma in a trailer park. And so he knows the characters that he writes about. And like, this centers on a detective, a Dallas detective who's also a hired killer. And I know such people in New York. And they're the sweetest guys. If you have never seen them work, you know, and you only hear about